It says, under the guise of sanctification, sewing circles, another early auxiliary, developed COGIC women's sense of respectability. The sewing circle also gave the women of the denomination an alternative view of their womanhood, which they would later spread throughout their foreign missions. In an effort to utilize skills women had developed from their occupations, COGIC designed sewing circles to help their congregations and larger community. For instance, local sewing circles donated clothing, but also trained women to sew and use the advanced needlework. By teaching women the skills, COGIC gave female members the ability to provide clean and untattered clothing for their children. Now, that's a benefit right there. Now, if you didn't know that before, put it in the comments and say, I never knew that before, because you have people that come along that don't know anything about it. And they'll say, sewing circle, Bible band, so and so and so and so and so, and don't know anything about why these things were created. As Charles Pless stated, these auxiliaries were similar to the work of Dorcas, the woman from the Bible, who was full of good works and alms and provided coats and garments for the needy. Now, let's get into the dress code. Auxiliary members also subscribed to the concept of respectability by sewing clothing that allowed members to properly dress. Watch this, while also helping Black women to fight the sexual harassment they often endured in public. In her autobiography, Mary Church Terrell, a leading Black feminist, vividly depicted the sexual peril Black women faced when she remembered how she encountered an aggressive white man whom she believed was about to rape her while alone at night in a rail car. She said, I was terror-stricken and started to the door when the train slowed to a stop. He seized me and threw me into a seat and then left the car. COGIC sewing circle members helped to establish a formal dress code for the denomination. Profoundly influenced by their understanding of sanctification, women developed a standard of conservative dress designed to demonstrate their holiness lifestyle. Cheryl Townsend Gilkes explained that COGIC women wore a simple uniform-like dress in the colors of black or white. Older women also adopted a headdress referred to as a saint, somewhat almost like what the nuns wear, which they wore on trains while en route to the national convocation or regional meetings. The dress code illustrated COGIC women's commitment to fighting against negative images and placed them among the ranks of their Baptist and Methodist counterparts in the fight to reform stereotypes of Black female sexuality. For instance, Benjamin T. Moore, a COGIC member and writer, argued that women of the denomination should cover parts of the body that cultural and religious norms dictated, and that clothing revealed who they were publicly. For instance, street women attempted to attract as much attention to their bodies as possible, but COGIC women should let their outer apparel reflect the inner person. His statement reiterated the argument of historian Darlene Clark Hine when she contested that if popular notions of lewd, lasciviousness, Negroes justified ritualized rape, then Black women would assume control over the situation by controlling their sexuality. As a result, COGIC women developed their own version of culture and of dissemblance, which they used in an effort to change societal views about their sexuality. Sewing circles gave COGIC women the ability to adopt a strategy of dissemblance, making public travel more tolerable and employment as domestics in white households endurable. Like their Baptist and Methodist counterparts, they took it upon themselves to create an alternative self-image that countered the negative stereotypes about their sexuality. Again, that's dealing with the women, and that is dealing with the history of why the sewing circle and why the dress code was so strong within the Church of God in Christ, because there was so much racial violence that was taking place against specifically Black women. So again, you may say, well, what about the men? But there was so much violence against Black women that the women of the Church of God in Christ empowered themselves and said, we're not going to take this anymore. And so when you approach me, you're going to approach me as a saint. And that's why there was such an emphasis upon the women's dress.